everyone.
Live from the German American Bank Studio in downtown Bowling Green, this is News 40 at 6 on WNKY CBS 40.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Morgan Hoover. We start tonight with a first look at our forecast with Chief Meteorologist Scott Burchett. Hey there, Scott.
Hey, Morgan. We're going to start out talking about a wind alert. You and I were talking about how windy it's been. And guess what? Those winds, they only increase as we get to the overnight hours. Wind advisory goes into effect at midnight and it lasts until 6 o'clock tomorrow evening for the entire News 40 viewing area. We are talking about wind gusts as high or higher than 50 miles an hour. And we'll talk about that more in just a bit. Right now, though, we've been tracking a little bit of rain on the radar. It's moving kind of through the area and out of the area right now, but we're going to continue to see rain move through because, well, most of the action out to the west still yet to cross the Mississippi River. It will be making its way through as a cold front makes its way through tonight. That means rain, maybe a few rumbles of thunder, and of course the aforementioned wind that could get pretty strong out there. Now, temperatures not bad out there. You would not know we have some thunderstorms and high winds coming towards us because look at this. We're looking at temperatures still in the low 60s in some areas, especially east of I-65. Starting to cool down a little bit. We're going to see those temperatures actually rise a little bit over the next few hours as a warm front makes its way through. As a matter of fact, we take a look at the planner tonight, and we're going to have some dry periods. So the rain that's moving through now moves out. By the time we get to around 1 o'clock, this is when we'll start to see that band of rain move in. And look at this. Temperatures go up to 63 degrees by 1 o'clock. We'll talk more about those temperatures, more about a bit of a severe threat, a low-end severe threat, and the winds in just a bit, Morgan.
All right, thank you, Scott. We begin in Logan County tonight, where two brothers are facing multiple charges and arrest just days apart. The Logan County Sheriff's Office says that on January 27th, Anthony and Timothy Heatherly got into a physical fight at their mother's house on North Main Street in Adairville. Once deputies arrived, they say they could see Anthony pacing inside of his mother's home with a gun. After several minutes, authorities were able to convince Anthony to come outside, where he was arrested. He was charged with 4th-degree assault and resisting arrest. 2 days later, around 2 o'clock in the morning, Logan County authorities were called to the same location in Adairville after receiving a call that Timothy Heatherly was laying in the middle of the street, naked and screaming. Once officers arrived, they found Heatherly fully clothed and attempted to arrest him. Authorities say Timothy Heatherly kicked, spit at, and tried to headbutt authorities before he was arrested. Heatherly was taken to the Logan County Detention Center, where he remains and now faces several charges, including indecent exposure, public intoxication, and assault on a police officer. In more local news, a significant change is coming to the zoning ordinance in Warren County. All group facilities will be allowed in all zones without local regulations. Certain living arrangements, including sober houses, halfway houses, and other facilities of that nature, are protected by the Federal Fair Housing Act. They are considered disabled and are not allowed to be discriminated against. Therefore, they can choose where they want to be. The change will need to be adopted by all 6 legislative bodies in Warren County by April because of this law.
We need these facilities to help these folks get to a better place in life. So, as with most things, the good ones will try to fit in and do the best they can to fit in the neighborhood, because that's the idea, is to integrate these folks back into a more normal living situation.
The community is seeking help from state legislators to enact some regulations on the facilities, including how they're managed and operated. We'll have more coming up on the story tomorrow on News 40. Hard times befall us all throughout the year, but with the holiday centered around love coming up, might be more difficult for some than others. News 40 reporter Michael Ridgway spoke to some counselors regarding Valentine's Day.
Love is hard. Those of us who have it run into all kinds of ups and downs, and those of us who don't may feel a little uneasy this time of year. Whether it be the passing of a loved one or a bad divorce/breakup, grief and loss is something that tends to affect all of us throughout our lives.
So I think it's important to remember that grief looks differently for everyone. And grief doesn't necessarily mean someone passed away. Grief can be the end of a relationship. It can be the end of a friendship, even losing a pet. Grief looks like a lot of different things to a lot of different people, depending on who they've lost or what they've lost.
Pain is an unavoidable part of being human, and Valentine's Day happens to be one of those days that it can definitely be hard to get away from.
I think it's important to remember that it's kind of the price of loving.
Love is something that most of us want, and when it goes away, it can be hard on you. Taking something away that is essential to living a good life.
I see a lot of people that really struggle with finding their self, knowing what even makes them happy anymore, knowing how to get back to a place where they can find or feel true happiness again.
It's kind of like ice cream, something that requires balance.
And if you haven't felt love before, it can make you do things that you wouldn't normally do, maybe to help you feel like you're showing that love or you don't want to lose that love. So sometimes feeling intense love can be a good thing, but sometimes feeling intense love can kind of go down the wrong path.
Though it sounds cliche, time moves on and so can we. Many counselors suggest things like group talks and support groups as a form of healing, and finding hobbies to occupy your time.
This is one of my favorite things to tell people. It's okay that you're not okay. Like, there is no right or wrong way to feel right away, and even a year later.
In South Central Kentucky, because local matters, Michael Ridgway, WNKY, News 40.
If you are in the mood to spread some love this weekend, you can head to downtown Bowling Green. Parks and Recreation's third annual Sweethearts Challenge offers a unique and exciting way to celebrate the holiday with your significant other, friends, or family. With different stops and challenges to participate in at Fountain Square Park, you'll have a blast exploring and interacting with your local favorites. To sweeten the deal, those who complete the scavenger hunt will be entered to win a date night giveaway with prizes from local businesses such as Gerard's 1907 Tavern, The Meltdown, Vet City Vintage, and more.
It takes you to 9 different stops, starting and ending in Fountain Square Park, Reservoir Hill Park, our Riverwalk Park, Circus Square, Soki Marketplace. So yeah, it's just kind of like a scavenger hunt-like adventure around our community.
The challenge will run for 4 days starting tomorrow through Sunday, so don't hesitate to join the fun. To participate, you can find all the information on our website. That's WNKY.com. Love might not cost a thing, but it isn't cheap either. Valentine's Day is right around the corner, and Americans plan to spend nearly $26 billion on the holiday. That's according to a new survey. On average, most people said they will spend about $192. That's up from $175 last year. The increase is mostly due to people buying gifts for not just their significant others, but pets, friends, and coworkers as well. As for the gifts, no surprise, the top Valentine's gift is expected to be candy, followed by greeting cards, flowers, an evening out, and jewelry. February is Black History Month, a time to focus on the impact that African Americans have made on communities. News 40's Lexi Schweinert tells us the story of one local librarian who started working in the late 1970s. Take a look.
Sabrina Loving is the first African American to retire from the Warren County Public Library.
I started in 1979.
At just 18 years old and in search of a job, she walked down to the courthouse to talk to the late Judge Basil Griffin. He encouraged her to apply to the library.
After talking to me for a few minutes, he says, "Young lady, I've got the perfect job for you."
She went and interviewed and was hired that very day.
As far as the library, it was people friendly. I worked the front desk when I first started here.
However, at that time, Loving says not everyone was used to seeing an African American at the front desk.
Some of them, when they would come to me to check out their books, when they would just lay the card down like that, and I would pick it up and I would check it out and I would say, "Thank you, and you have a nice day," and I'd go to hand it back and they wouldn't take it out of my hand, so I'd have to put it down.
But she continued to be herself and work hard for the next couple of decades.
Sabrina made a difference in the library world. She is so humble, but just was such a hard worker, and she was very surprised that everybody wanted to talk so much about her.
She retired in 2001 to spend more time with her family. She retired knowing she paved the way for others.
I just have a love for libraries, and libraries are very important, and we do need them. They're very important. To hold a book is very important.
In Bowling Green, because local matters, Lexi Schweinert, WNKY News 40.
The Kentucky State Police just got their plaque in the mail for the best looking cruiser in 2022. The National Association of State Troopers holds the contest every year. This is the second year in a row that Kentucky has taken the prize. The KSP cruisers are featured in this year's calendar along with other top contenders across the country. They tell us it gives a great sense of pride for the organization.
You know, it's great for us to be able to look at it and take the pride that we do and see that others in the state and others in the country recognize that, you know, how much effort we put into and take care of our vehicles.
The contest is held on Facebook and voted on by those who follow the American Association of State Troopers. KSP was able to secure a little over 65,000 votes, helping them beat out the Tennessee Highway Patrol. Coming up next on News 40 at 6, we have a full recap of the State of the Union address, and as expected, reviews are split along party lines. We have those details in just a bit, but first, Chief Meteorologist Scott Burchett is back after the break with a full look at our forecast. That's coming up next. Time now for a full look at our forecast with Chief Meteorologist Scott Burchett. Scott, it was still a little warm out there today. We had those clouds and some raindrops even.
Yeah, this is one of those days kind of keeping us on our toes because I mentioned it's a low-end severe weather risk. So it's the marginal risk, 1 out of 5. And really, the biggest thing we're expecting are the very heavy winds. We do have a chance of seeing an isolated, and it's an isolated spin-up tornado. A couple of storms could go severe. Right now, the thinking is really likely we'll just see some strong storms, but those winds, we're talking about the possibility of some downed trees, possibly power outages with this, and we're not talking about these winds associated with thunderstorms. We're just talking about the gusty winds in general. This runs from midnight until 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. I mentioned this at the beginning of the newscast. You know, if you have a smartphone, charge it tonight while you can, because you never know. It may be that we have a power outage later tonight, and I don't know about you, my iPhone is my alarm clock, and I would hate for it to not go off tomorrow. Plus, it's also a good way to get any severe weather alerts out there, any emergency alerts. So make sure you have that function turned on. Make sure you stay charged, and also you can get updates from us through the WNKY app. Wind alert, like I said, goes until 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. Tomorrow morning, before rush, through the rush hour, that's going to be the worst time, unfortunately, for these winds. Right now, 61 degrees. Temperatures have actually dropped a couple of degrees in the last hour or so with those gustier winds. But look at that. We're seeing the winds from the east-southeast, 8 miles an hour. Humidity, it's up there, 81%. We've had some showers move through already. Has really conditioned the atmosphere. We'll see more showers through the evening tonight. Pressure is falling as that low-pressure system moves towards us. So look at the temperatures right now, seeing the temperatures start to rise a little bit. We're seeing warmer air move up out of the south. We call that warm air advection, and it is moving up with a warm front that's moving through the area. You can kind of see where that warm front is right now because that boundary between the 50s and the 60s, and those temperatures will be going up over the next several hours. Temperature change last 24 hours, mainly along and east of I-65 is where we're seeing the warmer temperatures compared to this time last night. And then off to the west, we see some cooler temperatures in part because of the showers that have been moving through the area. Again, those temperatures for the western part of the viewing area will be warming up as well. Wind speeds right now, look at that. A little bit of a gust. Franklin, 12 miles an hour, was not like that last hour. We'll be seeing these winds start to increase during the next few hours. And again, the major winds we're talking about don't arrive until later tonight during the overnight hours. But don't be surprised if you step outside and you think, oh, well, a little breezier than what it was. And these will be gentle breezes, but they may become noticeable at times tonight. So satellite radar, here's that warm front I was talking about, really moving through the area right now. The bulk of the rain, you can see this rain shield along the Ohio River and now moving to the north of the Ohio River. And of course, the rain that we're talking about tonight with storms off to the west of the Mississippi River. That'll be making its way through here tonight as that cold front approaches the area. So windy, stormy night ahead, gusty through tomorrow morning, especially tomorrow morning. And then some cooler temperatures for the weekend as far as Futurecast is concerned. Here goes that warm front, and look at that. We're going to see some gaps in the rain during the waking hours tonight. You go to bed tonight, and then you hear some heavy wind and even some rumbles of thunder. That's that cold front making its way through. Passes through early tomorrow, but even after it passes through, we're still going to see breezy conditions and gusty conditions into the day tomorrow, into the afternoon hours. But again, things start to calm down a little bit after morning rush tomorrow. A little trough moves through here, a little reinforcing trough moves through here late tomorrow night into Friday morning. That could deliver an isolated shower at times, but I really think most of the rain wraps up tomorrow and we have a drier afternoon, and most of Friday looking dry as well. As far as the gusty winds that we're expecting, really during the pre-dawn hours, we're expecting possibly up to 52, 53 miles an hour at times. Rainfall looking relatively light as we go through the next few hours, a few 1/100ths to 10ths of an inch of rain. Tonight, though, we're only down to 56 with cloudy skies and storms. Tomorrow, an early high 62 with partly cloudy skies and those showers wrapping up early. Temperatures bottom out on Saturday and then rebound. We could see a little bit of a rain-snow mix Saturday morning before we get those temperatures back up in the 50s for daytime highs. That's look at your 7-day forecast brought to you by Foundation Solutions Group. Here's what's coming up tonight on CBS 40.
President Biden's second State of the Union address was a lively affair last night, and not surprisingly, the reviews are split along party lines. The president traveled to the Midwest today to promote the economic message. Nicole D'Antonio has the latest from Capitol Hill.
President Biden spoke to union workers about his economic agenda today in Wisconsin.
Inflation has fallen 6 months straight. Inflation is coming down. Take-home pay of workers is going up slightly.
The economy was also on his mind last night during his second State of the Union address. The president highlighted what he considers his achievements, but he received GOP heckling at levels never before seen when he suggested some Republicans had proposed cutting Medicare and Social Security.
Well, I'm glad to see you. And I tell you, I enjoy conversion.
He is simply unfit to serve as commander-in-chief.
Former Trump press secretary and newly installed Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders delivered the Republican response.
The Biden administration is doubling down on crazy.
Last night's speech was one of the rowdiest State of the Union addresses in recent history, with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy actually shushing members of his own party at least 4 times.
There is more, I would say, activity in the chamber probably than there used to be. But, I think that's probably characterizes a little bit of the change in our politics.
Vice President Kamala Harris believes the president did a good job of dealing with the many distractions.
I think the president was in command and he was focused on the American people.
There were some suggestions that President Biden used his address last night as a soft launch for a re-election bid. Vice President Harris says if that happens, she'll be running right alongside him. Nicole D'Antonio, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Stay with us. News 40's Patrick Carey is in the studio with a look at sports. That's coming up next.
Listen to the WNKY.
Welcome into sports. We start with Hilltopper Hoops as both teams gear up for MTSU. The men's team is set to host the Blue Raiders in Diddle Arena tomorrow night. This will be WKU's 3rd straight home game and possibly 3rd straight win. The Tops will be looking to improve to 14-11. Here's what head coach Rick Stansberry had to say about his team as they stayed together through the ups and downs this season.
Give these players credit. They've stayed together. They kept fighting. They kept believing. And again, sometimes in life things happen. There ain't answers for it and whys and ifs. No one cares about it. No one cares about it. The only thing you control is this moment. And that moment is the next game. It's every day. And the next game happens to be Middle Tennessee here at home. That's what we're going to try to control tomorrow.
The WKU Lady Toppers will also be in action tomorrow night against MTSU, but will suit up in Murfreesboro. The squad currently holds a 4-game winning streak and enters tomorrow night's matchup with a full head of steam. On the other side, MTSU has lost back-to-back games and will be looking for a bounce-back win. Here's what head coach Greg Collins had to say about the game and the remainder of the season.
We just continue to work and stay focused on the end of the season. This is a great challenge. It'll be a great atmosphere. It'll be a great test for us to see how we stack up against the best team in our conference.
And the Kentucky Wildcats were in action last night inside of Rupp Arena. The Cats hosted the Arkansas Razorbacks and lost 88-73. Kentucky was outscored by 14 in the second half, and the Razorbacks shot an eye-popping 72% as a team in the final 20 minutes. Here's what head coach John Calipari had to say after another tough loss this season.
They got downhill, and no one in there wanted to body up, which is what they did to us. But we'll learn. They were way better than us today. We just got to figure it out, and we got a day off and come back and go.
And it was a rough night for Louisville last night, falling to Pittsburgh 91-57. The Cards are now 3-21 on the season and 1-12 in ACC play. Louisville is also winless on the road this season at 0-10. Here's what head coach Kenny Payne's thoughts about the Panthers were after the loss.
I have to say, we played a lot of good teams in this conference. Guys, I'm just here to tell you that probably the most complete, the toughest team that we've faced in this conference is Pittsburgh.
And yesterday, LeBron James became the NBA's all-time scoring leader. And with a 30-point performance, the Los Angeles Lakers superstar surpassed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's long-standing record of 38,387 points. LeBron passed the record with a fadeaway jumper from the free throw line in the third quarter against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Here's what he had to say after the game on setting a new record.
It was pretty cool. I don't really get to
I probably can count on my hands how many times I've cried in 20 years, either in happiness or defeat. So that moment was one of them when I kind of teared up a little bit. It was I can't believe what's going on. Tears.
What a moment for LeBron. I mean, I don't think a lot of people expected him to ever pass Kareem. I think a lot of people expected Kareem's record to hold up for a long time, and then LeBron James came to town and said, I don't think so.
Right, absolutely. Exciting stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, Patrick, thank you so much. Scott, what can we expect tonight?
Tonight, we're going to see some showers move through. Later tonight, we could actually see some thunderstorm activity move into the area. I think the bigger story, though, are the winds that we'll be at least hearing rumble and roar through the area. Temperatures drop down into the low to mid-50s tonight with those showers and storms. These are straight line winds, by the way, gusty winds out there as we go through the overnight hours, early morning hours. Could blow some things around your yard, so be careful if you have anything out in the yard. And remember, power outages are possible, and we cool things down for the weekend.
All right, Scott, thank you so much. And thank you at home for joining us tonight. We'll see you right back here tonight at 10. Have a great evening, everyone.